Bij... Oh, I have to talk in English. Remember to talk in English. Welcome to the new stream where we're going to listen to a podcast so that we can learn more about the idea perception is projection. I will argue that it is a nonsensical idea, it's pointless, and that you are better off without it. But if you disagree with me or have questions or want to make a general remark, then please put them in the chat and I will react when I see them. What we're going to do is listen to to a podcast. I was pointed to a podcast. Someone asked me a question about it, and they asked me, well, Joost, what do you think of this idea and what do you think of this podcast? And I promised to let them know what I thought about it, but it's much better to do this as a stream. So in that way, then I am, using this to kill two birds with one stone, and we get a very thorough exposition on the idea that perception is projection, and at the same time we know what is wrong with this podcast. So without further ado, let's move on. Let's introduce the podcast, and you can find it on Spotify. But we're going to listen to it, and I'm going to do it as follows. I'm going to listen to it and maybe one sentence, and then when the sentence is ready or done, then I'm going to comment on the sentence, and then we continue. So even though the podcast is only 13 minutes, will probably take 1 hour to all discuss it completely, but then you know everything about it. And we have to make a decision before we start. So whenever you're listening to something, we're going to analyze it, of course, with NLP models, with the meta model and the Milton model. So we're going to listen with a very specific ear. We're going to listen to it as if it was a NLP exercise to actually see if we can find a meta model or Milton model language patterns. But that is, of course, important to do. But first we have to decide which of those two are of interest to us. Do we think that this is a podcast to clarify things, or is this a hypnotic story? Is it just a hypnosis? Because if it's hypnosis, it really doesn't matter what he or she is saying. It only matters whether the hypnotic language patterns are well formed. So that people actually get to listen to it and that it actually is effective. But in this case, I think that this NLP trainer... Hey Joost, Wi-Fi in and out? Is that for me a something to say, or is it something else? Hi Jane, good to see you. Is it a problem I need to solve, or is it just you warning me that you might fall away? Anyways, so as long as nobody else is mentioning something, then I'm going to continue on perception is projection and what is wrong with it. So we're going to listen to it, and I think that this is a podcast by an NLP trainer. Jane, good to hear that this is yours, because I got a heart attack thinking that my Wi-Fi was killing me. I just tried a new Wi-Fi system to see if we can do it without interruptions. And so I think that this NLP trainer is actually hypnotized by the whole idea perception is projection. So here's the difference. So if we use hypnotic language patterns, when we want to try to see if we can, hypnotize people, we want to do it on purpose and consciously. Of course, we don't want to formulate all the hypnosis consciously, because communication, talking, writing is done automatically, subconscious or unconscious. But we want to know that we want to have a conscious decision. I'm going to influence someone, I'm going to hypnotize someone. So I'm going to use the Milton model on purpose. You can't justify bad theories by with hindsight by saying, oh yes, okay, maybe it wasn't clarifying, but then it was hypnosis. So we're going to listen to this, and probably we're probably going to notice that there's a lot of meta-model violations. But I think that this NLP trainer actually really believes in what he is saying. And this is the big error when people use the Milton model. Is the Milton model is used to influence people, to hypnotize people, but you should be able to do it without starting to believe your own bullshit, as this trainer does. So alright, without further ado, let's listen to it. Let's listen with meta-model ears, but also with Milton model ears. Of course, we start with perception is projection, which is a complex equivalence to start with, but I'm going to talk about it anyway once he starts. So let's see. Here we go.
Hey there, and welcome to episode 4 of the Power of Practice podcast. Perception is projection.
Welcome to the Power of Practice podcast with Matthew Tweedy. Discover how to leverage the potential of your unconscious mind so you can create an abundant and empowered existence. Here's your host, Matthew Tweedy.
Okay, hello and welcome. So the next theme for this particular episode is about perception as projection. Now, perception as projection essentially says that you can only see outside of you what is inside of you.
Okay, there we go, the first part. So far he has said basically perception is projection. This is a complex equivalence. So we know it's a violation of the meta model. Can we find some perception that is not projection? I think I can. Let's grab the first object that comes to hand. That is this mouse. Let's say that this mouse, I'm going to argue that this mouse is not a projection from my mind. This is basically a computer mouse. There are no computer mouses in my mind. So that is what the next sentence that he said was also very important, because he said you can only see outside what is on the inside. But it's of course complete bullshit. This is a modal operator of necessity. He is claiming it is necessarily so that you can only see stuff out on the outside that's on the inside. Well, in reality, of course, you can see lots of things that you are not familiar with. In fact, if you're a little kid, then you are seeing many new things that you need to learn what they are. So you then first see them on the outside, and then you build up your own ideas about them. So already there, it's a nonsensical idea. But let's hear what else he says.
That means that the world is a mirror.
Well, this is also a very bad idea. The world is a mirror. Again, it is a complex equivalence. Complex equivalents are a violation of the meta model. This is wrong. But the whole idea of the world being a mirror is also wrong. So even if you look at something like physics, so physics often thought until the 1950s that they were coming up with these physical theories, and that these physical theories would be a mirror of the world. So here you had the idea, we had an independent world, and there we were going to mirror it in our theories. But then we discovered that this makes no sense, that you in fact cannot mirror the world, that the whole idea that the world, that you can mirror the world is wrong. For instance, because you have to come up with a notion of when is the mirror correct or incorrect. And therefore you would have to be able to step out of the world to see it from a dissociated position. But of course you cannot step out of the world, you are part of the world. So if you're part of the world, you simply cannot think of the world as a mirror, or your theories about as a mirror of the world. But here the whole idea is upside down. So here it's not that the theories mirror the world, but the world mirrors your conscious mind or something. That's even worse, because given that our theories don't mirror the world, it's even worse to think that the world mirrors our theories. The whole idea about reality is that reality is that what resists us. So if we were to be able to create reality, then we would be able to create a reality that would not resist us. You can easily experience how reality is resisting you, or resisting your will, is by trying to walk through a lamppost. I mean these things, I don't know what the English word is, but I mean that you have in the street, you have lanterns that light up the street in the darkness. If you try to walk through them, that will be very, very difficult. So there you can actually hear, and more importantly, you can feel if you try it, that there is something, reality, that is resisting you. And to think that that would be a mirror of your internal behaviors, of your conscious mind, that is at least as wrong as thinking that your theories are a mirror of the world, but I think much more wrong than that. And we'll listen and hear what else he is.
Everything you see outside of yourself is you.
So again, he simply loves complex equivalences. Everything you see outside of yourself is you. That's another complex equivalent. And also one another is pointless. And also it's a universal quantifier. Everything, really? Everything you see outside of you is me? So let's try to see that. So first, if we imagine the universe. So everything, everything in the whole universe. So we imagine the universe. How big is the universe? 13.5 billion light years. And what consists the universe of? Nothingness. There's almost nothing in the universe. It's a big black empty space. So basically what he is saying is that you are a big empty space. You have very little content. You are basically a vacuum. You consist of nothing, and only here and there are small pieces of matter, and then you are on fire, because these are the stars. The stars are on fire. You are big black emptiness with a couple of points that are on fire. I'm happy that, please give me feedback if you're laughing. That helps the stream enormously. Because it is a laughable matter. Let's listen to more, if we can laugh even a bit more.
In some way, shape or form. It's a projection.
So here he is using Milton language in some way, shape or form. This is of course a lack of referential index in meta model language. And of course, everything is something in some shape, matter or form. I can say I am an elephant in some sense, in some shape, in some form. I am a god in the depths of my thoughts in some way, or in some shape, in some form. That is just a cop-out, and he has to say that, because otherwise you would immediately recognize that he was talking complete nonsense, that it was complete bullshit what he is saying. So you have to listen for phrases like that. I call them weasel words. I'm not the only one calling them like that. They are called weasel words because this is the way that people weasel themselves out of the bullshit that they are proclaiming.
Projection of who you are. The world.
So here we missed a cause and effect statement. He said, okay, it has to be like this because perception is a projection of who you are. But again, this is bullshit. It's a circle reasoning. First of all, cause and effect statements are also, of course, a violation of the meta model. But in this case, it's also a circle reasoning. Why is perception a projection? Because perception is a projection. Well, we're not buying that at all.
The world is a reflection of you. So there's some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the world outside of you is a reflection of you. The bad news is that the world outside of you is a reflection of you too.
Well, this is one of the cheapest language patterns that you can use in every single moment. So the language pattern goes as follows. You can say, okay, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that the world is on fire. The bad news is the world is on fire. The good news is I love you. The bad news is I love you. The good news is there's a European Championship in football. The bad news is there's a European Championship in football. You can hear it makes no difference whatsoever what you fill in this language pattern. You can literally say anything that comes up. The good news is that Smurfs are blue. The bad news is that Smurfs are blue. Literally any sentence that you can think of, is going to be right. Well, unfortunately, Jane, it was nice having you here. So whenever people say I have good news and bad news and they repeat themselves twice, just ignore it. It is a completely empty sentence.
Now, I'm going to be totally honest. I certainly am guilty of this type of thinking myself from time to time. And
so now he's going to be totally honest. But listen carefully what he says. He says, now I'm going to be totally honest. Meaning, this is also a presupposition of time. The word now introduces a discussion on whether the time, but he makes a mistake. But now he is using the Milton model badly, because what happens is that by saying, now I'm going to be completely honest, also completely is also a presupposition of adverb, or adjective in this case, I think. I'm going to be completely honest. What that means here is I have been lying to you until now. That is the presupposition that's behind it. Of course, that is not what he wants you to think, but he basically made a big mistake with the Milton model language, and he has a bad grip on presuppositions.
it's our responsibility to catch ourselves in the moment.
It's our responsibility to catch ourselves in the moment. Again, completely empty. You can say this on any time of the day, in any situation. Someone is eating breakfast and you can say, okay, it's our responsibility to catch ourselves in the moment. You can drive someone or hit someone in the car and say, it is our responsibility to whatever you do in the moment. So again, empty words just to fill up space, not explaining, clarifying whatsoever, but neither hypnotizing you. So I don't mind if the story would not be clarifying at all, if it would be a good hypnotic story. But then you would want to have suggestions so that people would actually improve their life based on the suggestions. Without those suggestions, it's just an empty story. So far, it is just complete emptiness.
If we want to change the way we're thinking and seeing the world, to make things easier on ourselves. So looking outside in the world and seeing something or someone outside and saying, you know, that person is X, that person is...
So now he's claiming that he finally is making a promise. He still hasn't delivered, but he's making a promise that our life will be easier once we learn that perception is projection. Of course, it is complete bullshit, but we'll see why.
Is selfish. That person doesn't have any regard for others. That person. Well, as soon as you think it's not you, and as soon as you think that it is someone else, you've just moved to the effect side of the equation.
Okay, let's unpack this. It makes no sense, but I can explain. So what he's trying to say is that if you see someone out there and you have criticism on that person, then you're really criticizing yourself, because you're not seeing that person. What you are seeing is your own insight, your own mind, your own unconscious, your own way of looking at the world. Well, it might sound attractive for people to think that, but be very aware, because now things go wrong very quickly. Why? because we see many, many very, very evil people in the world. My favorite example is President Assad of Syria. I'm a big critic of President Assad of Syria. I think murdering your own countrymen is evil, is bad. People should stop that. But no, this NLP trainer says, no, Joost, you can criticize Assad for murdering his own people, but that's not really the case. You have to be completely honest. If you're really honest, then you have to see that Assad is not murdering his own people. You are. It's your inside. It's you from the inside that is murdering these people in Syria. You are the mass murderer, not President Assad. This is what he's claiming. And of course, this is complete bullshit. So let's listen and hear what other bullshit he has.
So I remember my mother actually telling me when I was younger, and many of you would be familiar with this axiom. When you point one finger out at someone and point the blame out there, look how many fingers are pointing back. Because there's 3 fingers pointing back when you're pointing that finger out at someone else. So the fact of the matter is that when you're putting the blame out there, that whatever the situation is, you've got a lot more to do with it than you think.
Again, this is the idea, but this is another nonsensical idea, that if I point outwards, then there are 3 fingers pointing towards myself. These are the 3 fingers on the bottom of my hand. But I am not pointing towards someone because my finger is a special gun that I can shoot people with, and that I have to take care because the other 3 guns are now pointed at myself. And if I start to shoot like this, then I might actually hit myself, going, oh, I'm hit. But it is arguments. There are good reasons why we criticize people. For instance, President Assad. Because again, he is saying, okay, if you're pointing a finger to President Assad of Syria for mass murdering his own people, then in reality you are 3 times as worse, because you're a way more bigger mass murderer than President Assad. Again, total bullshit. It makes no sense. But that is what fake NLP trainers believe in.
So when it comes to perception is projection, when you're pointing your finger out at someone else, that's you. When you...
Just in case you did not yet hear the message that you are a mass murderer, you are, according to this fake NLP trainer.
Think of that thing over there, that person, that group, those people. That's actually you.
So it's not only individuals, there are whole groups of people that you are. And so if we look at all the officials of the North Korean totalitarian regime who abuse human rights one day after another, again, it's not them, it's you. If you criticize them, it's you who is doing all the torturing and enslaving of the North Koreans. Not the North Koreans themselves, it's you.
And Carl Jung, actually, from a psychological or psychology standpoint, he's the guy that came up with perception is projection.
Now we learn about the source of the idea perception is projection. It comes from Carl Jung. So why would an NLP trainer be quoting Carl Jung? It makes no sense. NLP started in the 70s, Neuro-Linguistic Programming to be clear, started in the 70s as a criticism of Freudian psychotherapy, among them Jungian psychotherapy. So the whole idea that we then should copy those stupid ideas of psychotherapists like Jung and put them into NLP is stupid, and it turns NLP into fake NLP, like this fake NLP trainer does.
He absolutely loved perception is projection. Carl Jung would say that if you're pointing outside and getting upset or disturbed or agitated by that thing out there, that's probably the thing that you need to learn most at this moment.
And so if you get upset by mass murdering Syrian people, then you probably should learn more about how to mass murder Syrian people. That's what he's saying. If you get upset by the way people are treated in North Korea, then you should really learn how to torture people and how to enslave them, because really it says something about you. Of course, again, I will repeat it endlessly, it is total bullshit, but unfortunately fake NLP trainers like this guy actually believe it.
Probably repeating this cycle in your life for the purpose of learning.
And so just to be clear, it's even worse. So the President Assad of Syria is mass murdering the Syrian people regularly. And you might get upset about it regularly. And this is a clear indication that you should learn more about mass murdering. It makes no sense, it's complete bullshit, but this guy believes it.
What is the learning that you need to get, to extract, to bring to conscious awareness? Because anything outside of our conscious awareness can control us, and anything that we bring into conscious awareness, we gain control over.
Okay, now I'm finally moving on besides the perception is projection, and now we have a claim. So we need to learn something. Why? Because if it's unconscious, it's controlling us, but if we make it conscious, then we gain control over it. Of course, this is a complete lie or a complete fabrication. Our conscious mind doesn't control stuff, our brain controls stuff, and for almost all part, if not all, our brain does so unconsciously. Our conscious mind is much more of a reporter, who is actually reporting what the body, the brain and the unconscious mind are doing. And the reporter is becoming too enthusiastic and starts to think of himself or herself as, no, it's not my body, it's not my brain, it's not my unconscious mind, it's me! I am doing this! But of course, that is not a way to take things under control at all. The way to control stuff like your emotions, like your thoughts, like what you imagine, is by actually training your unconscious mind to use the right patterns. That is the whole idea of Neuro-Linguistic Programming, is that you learn techniques to train your unconscious mind to make sure that you feel good, no matter the circumstances, that you imagine or you have mental imagery in a way that supports you, makes you feel good, and helps you achieve your goals, and that you have constructive thinking. But all of that is something else than just thinking that if I make it consciously, I control it. No, it's the opposite. People are often consciously worrying about all kinds of things that they have no control over. Why? Because the unconscious mind hasn't been trained. So to be clear, if you try to help people overcome problems, train them in feeling good, having the right mental imagery and constructive thinking. Stop selling them bullshit like perception is projection.
When we're pointing outside and putting the blame out there, we haven't got the learning yet. We haven't integrated that information into our conscious awareness. We haven't accepted it as being a part of us. We're rejecting it at that point in time. And while we're rejecting it, we haven't got the learning.
So basically what he's saying, as long as you think that President Assad of Syria is not you, is not part of you, is not your projection of something inside of you, then you haven't learned anything. Then it's suddenly, it's all, your life has been a failure. Of course, utter bullshit, but he believes it.
We haven't assimilated the information to the point where we can feel neutral and at peace about that thing out there.
So, again, my mind is boggled by this nonsense. So his idea is that if you're, as long as you're upset about something, it is part of you. It is you who is basically doing all the bad shit out there. But if you become okay with it, if you're then somehow you have learned something, and then everything is okie dokie. So basically, you have to learn to stop being upset about mass murder, and if you can be completely zen, completely relaxed while other people mass murder humans, then you have learned something. Well, I think you have learned indifference. I think you should be hurt by other people being hurt. So this is not only bullshit, but also suggestions that actually make you less of a human. There's a remark by Jane, great point, Joyce, that used to be something I suffered from. Concerns for all things I couldn't control, wasn't usual thinking at all. No, exactly. So that is a very good point. So yeah, what... But the worst part is sort of what I want getting to is that first of all he said everything outside, the whole universe is you, all 13.5 billion light years of it. But now he's saying that if you are zen with it, then suddenly it's you have learned something, you've integrated it, so you have basically taken something from the outside, even though the outside didn't exist. And now it's inside of you, but no longer outside. It's no longer, the world is no longer a reflection of your inside. It's no longer a mirror. It makes no sense. He's now going to contradict himself. He's now going to, he has lost his way so much. He's become so entangled in a stupid idea that now the sentences that he's going to say are going to be one contradiction after another. He's just, the whole idea is if you have a bullshit concept like the perception is projection idea, then the moment you try to reason from it, you will end up with more bullshit. It's basically garbage in, garbage out. And now you're actually hearing the nonsense that's coming out of him. He has to make up stuff to make it sound nice. But if you listen very closely, it is contradictory bullshit. Which is worse than normal bullshit.
Now here's the upside. See, many people, when they look at perception as projection, they're immediately only sorting for that negative aspect and looking at it as a negative thing. But that's not the truth. The mirror image of this goes something like this. When you look outside in the world and you see someone and you say, wow, that person is amazing. They're just so aspirational, they're powerful, they're confident. You just see something outside of you and you're in awe. Guess what? That's actually you. You see, equally so, you couldn't see that in someone else unless that lived inside of you also.
So here's the upside. Yay, we get to positive stuff. You're no longer a mass murderer, according to this fake NLP trainer. Now we can say, okay, if we see something with something wonderful, some person that is fantastic, you're not only the Syrian mass murderer, but you're also Elon Musk, if you like Elon Musk. You are Barack Obama, if you like Barack Obama. You can, all these people that you look up to, that you admire, that's not them, that's you. So, and I agree with it. If this is your belief system, then this is actually a benefit of believing this. Unfortunately, there's also a big drawback to believing this, because now we have to divide the world in two groups. The terrible people that I have to learn from, because they're really me, and the group of the good persons that I can be proud of for the fact that that's also me. But now we have divided the world in two groups of people. And now let's figure out which group is bigger. I fear that the group that I am impressed with, that I am proud of, that they are me, is a very small group. Whereas the group that is the assholes, the idiots, and the people I would hate to be me, is a really, really, really big group. So and again, you have to translate it. This is all is you. So what it means is that you are actually for like say 80% or 90% an asshole, and only for 10% a wonderful person. Again, to be clear, it's bullshit, but it's the bullshit that this fake NLP trainer is trying to sell.
Now, often we have to be able to recognize that inside of us and really own that to feel and connect with that. But the fact of the matter is that if we are looking outside and seeing that in someone else, that wonderful quality or aspect in someone, then that is you. You are projecting that out from the inside. So perception is projection says that you are projecting your entire universe outside of you.
Again, for those people who thought that I was exaggerating and that he was not as idiotic as I make him out to be, here we repeat it again. You project your entire universe outside of you. The complete world around you, the complete 13.5 billion of light years is you. That's your universe. Okay, your universe is very black, very empty, very, oh, I forgot about this. It's extremely cold. It's close to absolute zero. Not exactly absolute zero, but it's extremely cold in space. So you are extremely cold. You might think yourself as a warm person. You're wrong. You might be a tiny little bit of warmth now and then, here and there, but for the most part, like 99.999999999%, you are extremely cold. Again, not my saying, it's what this fake NLP idiot is saying.
According to the book Flow by Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, there's about 2 million bits per second of information all around you at any given time. 2 million bits of information flying into your nervous system every second. And your nervous system can only handle about 134 bits.
Here he is completely messing up. He is trying to quote some research. Well, first of all, the research is bad research. I'll explain in a moment. But also he is mixing up his whole idea. So he's saying that there's about 2 million bits of information around you. Again, he's now limiting his whole story to the information around you, but unfortunately for him, the amount of data around you is a couple of gigabits. If you would calculate all the data that your senses would be able to process, what he is calling 2 million bits is actually your eyes. So your eyes are processing about 1 million bits per eye. So 2 eyes is 2 million bits, and he is not thinking of smell, taste, hearing, and your body is a one big sensing, big sense for feelings. If you total that up, it's about 10 million bits. But who's counting? Obviously, he's not. This is a very interesting philosophical problem, because how can we sense the world if our senses only see so little of it? But the next part what he says is that your system is only processing 120 something bits. That is a complete bullshit in two ways. First of all, it's not what the research said. The research said your conscious mind is processing 120 bits. Furthermore, this is done by a psychological test, and the test is very questionable. So your brain is processing way more data than the 120 somewhat bits that he mentioned. And first of all, it has nothing to do with your conscious mind. So this is research is often quoted, but again, here it is also misquoted, like a lot of the other stuff he is misquoting. So let's continue.
This means that you delete, you distort, you generalize all the other bits of information that are out there.
Well, finally we get something that sounds a bit like NLP, because NLP is pretty much into deleting, distorting and generalizing. And he has a good idea. Let's praise him for where he is praiseworthy. And so often the idea of deleting, generalizing and distorting is only tied to the meta model, and then it is about deleting details in our communications, or generalizing or distorting details, the relevant details even. And here he's saying, no, this is also happening in our brain. These processes of deletion, generalization and distortion. That's true. So that's very good that he says that. Unfortunately, he says it in a very inaccurate way. And so he is suggesting that there are 2 million bits around you. Well, we know that these are gigabytes data around you. And he's saying because you only have these 120 something bits inside your system or your being, that you're deleting everything else. Well, first of all, we know that's not really what's happening in the brain. It's about 10 million bits per second that come in. But it is true that a lot of those bits are being deleted, but they're not, deleted in a way that isn't useful. Our brain is an abstraction machine. It takes in lots of very small details through our senses, and then abstracts and then builds up with that abstraction our sense of the world. So, and yes, there is the information deleted. There is also information generalized and distorted, but not in the way that he's describing. He's making it sound completely idiotic. I think that a psychologist or a neuroscientist would laugh very hard about it. But the idea in general is okay, so let's praise him for that.
And what you're doing is only taking in about 134 bits. My trainer and NLP mentor would always use the metaphor of the toothpicks. Imagine that there's 2 million toothpicks of information going right past you every second. And as you reach out and grab, you can only grab 134 of those toothpicks.
So here you see one of the biggest problems within the field of NLP. Why is this fake NLP trainer pushing out fake NLP? Because he's been trained by a fake NLP trainer. NLP is like this Chinese game where you whisper something into the ear of the next person, who's then going to whisper to the next person, and then you have this whole chain of people, and then 20 people later the whole message is distorted. Even though they understand about the deletion, distortion and generalization problems within communications, they still have no clue that they're actually suffering from it. So I can't blame this fake NLP trainer. The problem with him was that he was trained by a fake NLP trainer, and that the fake NLP trainer taught him in such a bad way that he actually starts to believe all of this bullshit. So you have to make, this is how I started, you have to make such a clear distinction between communication for clarification or communication to influence people. When you're teaching NLP people, a practitioner, master practitioner or trainers, it's very important that they learn how to clarify stuff. Obviously this fake NLP trainer is not doing that at all. But second of all, they need to understand that if they use influencing language, or hopefully they do that a lot, but that they can do so without starting to believe their own stories. Because the way you influence people is the opposite way of how you clarify stuff. So the moment you start to believe in your own influencing stories, then you lose clarification, and that actually means that your own brain becomes less well ordered and less functioning less well.
Bringing that into your nervous system to be able to create your model of the world or your reality.
So here there's another big mistake. There is a term within NLP. So it's the second time he's actually using a NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming term. There is something called the world model. The world model is basically everything, all the knowledge and all the skills that you learned, and that are somehow coded within your brain. So when the brain learns, it strengthens or weakens certain synaptic links between 2 or more brain cells. And that is what is physically happening within the brain. And with NLP, I summarize those learnings with the term world model. But of course, the world model is what you learned. It is not about grabbing some kind of little bit of what you're actually seeing now and then using that to create your world model as if the world model is not already there. Even worse, he says that you can create your own reality that way, which is complete bullshit. Again, I challenge him to run through a lamppost in the street, because I'm pretty sure that if he tries to do so, that he'll get hurt and that he's unable to create his own reality where he will be able to run through lampposts.
The question you have to ask yourself is, how long before that pile of toothpicks is way over your head? I'm going to suggest it's only a few seconds.
So here we have actually a very, very negative suggestion that you should immediately remove from your system, ignore it. So he's suggesting that you are in big problems, even after a few seconds, because you miss so much information from the world that you're completely unable to function. Of course, this is complete bullshit. You have learned so many useful skills and so much good knowledge that is very useful for you to use and to learn from, that it makes no sense to suggest to people that they are faulty or broken or suffering or whatever, as he is doing now.
That's how much information you're not seeing out there. Now, the interesting thing is that same 2 million bits of information that are going past me are going past you too. They're going past successful people that you see in your life. They're going past unsuccessful people, by people that are learning to become more successful. The same 2 million bits per second are going past all of us.
So it becomes more nonsensical the longer the podcast is running. Here he's saying, you don't, even though you're a complete broken idiot because you miss so much information around you, no, it doesn't matter, because all the other people are as idiotic because they miss as much information as you do. Which is weird, because how come that some people are more successful than I am? So what's the difference? Let's check if he has an answer.
The big question is, guess who's in charge of what they reach out and grab? You are.
Okay, he is suggesting, again, I have to laugh about it because it is so complete bullshit. It's so nonsensical. He is suggesting that you are, if you have problems, if you have issues, that the reason why you have issues and other people not is because you're grasping the wrong kind of information from the world around you, and that successful people are grabbing the right kind of information. They get the right one and you get the wrong one. So it's all about the matter of learning to grab the right one, the correct information. And this reminds me of this game show I saw when I was a little kid. There were people who were standing and there were things falling around them, but they didn't know when, and they had to really quickly grab one of them. And if they got one, they got a money prize, and if they failed to grab them, they did not get a money prize. And so that is basically his metaphor for life. If you're successful, you're just grabbing the wrong bits of reality around you. If you're successful, then you do the right ones. If you're unsuccessful, you do the wrong ones.
So perception is projection says to me that there's so much information in the universe. There's so much that you can see and experience. And it's totally up to you what you reach out and grab.
So now we have a 180 degrees total denial of what he has said so far. So far he has said the whole universe on the outside of you, that is you. That is you. You projected to the outside. You are the one that is actually creating your own reality and this. But now it's the 180 degrees the opposite. Now it's the other way around. Now it's basically there's a complete universe outside of you, which is not you. And you get to choose which part you take inside of you, but you can only take very limited, very small parts. So, yes, well, he just explained why perception is not projection. So he tried to tell you why perception is projection, and in doing so, he explained why perception is not projection.
And no matter what you reach out and grab at any moment, you have to simultaneously remember that everything, including you, the universe, you as an individual, whatever you're thinking that you are perceiving in the moment is so much more than that.
Okay, now we got another Milton language weasel phrase. It's so much more than that. You can say that of everything. Here I have again the mouse, the computer mouse that we're starting out with. But you see a mouse, but it's so much more to it than you think. You can see me, but there's so much more to it than you think. You can live on a planet, but there's so much more than you can think. These are visual phrases, they're lack of referential indexes, they are set so that you can fill in the blanks. But in reality, he's wrong, because there is nothing more. He just explained it is about the whole universe. There is nothing more than the whole universe. What else is there beyond the whole universe? So again, these are not. He's not trying to clarify anything with it. These are just Milton language weasel words. Where he's trying to save face for the fact that he did a complete turnaround and contradicted his first half of his podcast by just saying, "Oh fuck, I messed up. Well, there's so much more. There's so much more. Don't worry about me fucking up."
Sometimes people get locked into this label and this particular style of 134 bits, as they think I'm a carpenter, or I'm a plumber, or I'm a lawyer, or I'm a father.
Well, it's getting weirder and weirder, because now we get a situation where the bits you grab, so we're grabbing 138 bits or something like that. We're grabbing it, and it's a label. I'm labeling it. I'm using it as a label, and now I'm an NLP trainer. But I'm doing this every second. So I'm grabbing an NLP trainer. Whoa, 1 second later, I'm still an NLP trainer. But now I'm grabbing something else. Now I'm a fantastic video game player. This is completely unsensical. He is just rambling. He's just combining all kinds of different. There are all kind of issues with labeling, but they have nothing to do with the amount of data that you get from the universe around you. It has to do with your own internal thoughts and belief systems. If you have negative labels, most often they don't help whatsoever. So get rid of them. But it's a completely different topic. And he's just rambling, just combining different concepts into one sentence, so that it becomes completely unsensical bullshit. Even more so than, let's say 5 minutes ago.
They label themselves, and in any given moment, you can be so much more than that.
Here we have the you can be so much more than that language pattern again. Maybe you should tell people specifically what they can be so much more, rather than just create this nonsensical story about, yeah, you can be so much more, you can be so much more. You can say that at anyone and every time. It's completely empty. People fill in the blanks, and who cares about it?
It's all out there. And yet it's all being projected from the inside.
Now he's spinning himself in circles, and he is noticing that he had contradicted himself. So he's saying it's all out there, and you hear him think, oh shit, I just told them that there's nothing out there, it's only you. Oh, I fucked up. That's what he's thinking. So the next sentence is, yeah, but remember, it's all you. But of course, yeah, we do remember that, and it makes no sense. You're complete bullshitting people. Again, the fake NLP.
So one of the major themes that I'm going to be talking about throughout this model of empowerment is perception is projection.
So he's selling something. We get to the end of the podcast. He's trying to sell stuff, and he's saying that he's going to use the idea of perception is projection massively. So I would refrain from buying anything from him, because the simple truth is that his idea about perception is projection, but the whole idea itself as well, is complete bullshit. It's contradictory. It's nonsense. This, if he uses this as one of the core elements of his of the training programs or whatever he is selling, then it's garbage in, garbage out. You get bullshit coaching. You get bullshit training programs.
Every being lives and creates a unique universe, which can never be 100% identical to that of another.
All right, let's see if we can unpack this one. every single living being creates its own universe, and it will almost never be 100% identical. Huh? What? Who? What? So bacteria create their own universe. There are billions and billions, trillions probably, bacteria, and they all create their own universe, and they're all different. Where are those universes located? Where? We have one universe, a reality that we know of, and we have a quantum mechanical explanation of an explanation of quantum mechanics. It's called the multi-world interpretation of Wheeler, that suggests that we have universes splitting off, but then you live still in one of those universes altogether. But now he is saying not only are these quantum mechanical the splits of the universe, but each living being creates its own reality, its own universe. And where can we find all of these? Again, you can't find them because it's utter bullshit. And it's also pointless to think that bacteria can create universes. But let's continue, see what else he says.
From the point of view of the observer, it feels like they're the center of the universe.
So, from the point of the observer, it feels like, well, if it's a point of view from the observer, it doesn't. If it's feeling, it's not viewing. So he is here making a small mistake, or if he does it on purpose, it's wonderful language patterning, because he uses synesthesia patterns. But I doubt it strongly, very strongly, that this is on purpose. He's just he understands that if he actually would be looking, then it would fail to work. So he says you feel yourself as being the center of the universe. But this is actually wrong. So there is a famous philosopher called Husserl who created phenomenology. Fuck it. It's too difficult a word for me to pronounce in English. But he said the interesting thing about humans is that they're eccentric. Humans can actually understand that they are not the center of the universe. That they are, and that's why he called them eccentric. Ex meaning outside, and centric meaning the middle. Humans can realize that they are not the center of the universe. They realize that they are far away from the center of the universe. So what he's saying is actually wrong, and or has nothing to do with humans, which would also be bad for his case.
This is the same for every observer, for every individual being. That means that one person's reality therefore must be different from another person's reality.
Well, yeah, this is so many mistakes. He's trying to say that basically the way you perceive a reality is different from person to person, and in some this is in a of course, first of all, he's not saying, he's saying that the reality is different from person to person. Well, he's wrong. We have one reality, but we experience reality differently, but not so different, because I guess that all of you can hear me, and that all of you see me in color. So it's wrong to think of these. Of the idea that you create your own reality, or even if you have a completely unique experience of reality, is well known within the world of NLP, but of Neuro-Linguistic Programming. But it is also a wrong idea. We overlook the fact that most of the world as we experience it is actually shared by us. We all live in a three-dimensional world. We live in a world full of colors. We live in a world full of sounds. Sure, there are. So there's one reality. So there are no different realities. You don't create your own reality. You can reorganize little bits of reality. Again, if I take my mouse, the computer mouse, and I put it from the left of me to the right of me, then I've rearranged reality a little bit, but that's all. There's nothing else besides that happening. So we don't create reality. It's reality is only something that is happening or that exists outside of us. But we can actually make sure that we have our own experience of reality. But even then, our own experience of reality is pretty much the same as other people. There are only small differences, even though these differences are quite relevant most of the time.
Everyone that you meet, everyone that you see, they have their own reality. As you become more congruent in your own reality, if that's something you want to do, if you want to share this information, if you're going to work with someone, if you're going to make a difference in another person's life, one thing that I've learned.
Well, finally we get some good hypnosis. And now we come to the end of the podcast. Now he's going to do some absolute, influencing language patterns that are on purpose. He's not. He has thought about this. Maybe he's using them more often, but he wants you to share the podcast. Well, it worked on me. I am sharing your podcast, so hopefully, fake NLP trainer, if you ever see this stream, you are happy with me that I actually shared your podcast as you instructed me with your embedded command. It's well done, I love it, good language patterns on purpose, exactly like you want. Hello, Alfonso. The second part is if you want to work, and then he's waiting for a little bit of time, so then you fill in the blanks, and a lot of people would fill in the blank if you work with me. He doesn't say so if you work with someone, but he actually gives you a very well hidden command to hire him as a trainer or as a coach. All well done, has nothing to do with the topic of perception is projection. It's just he's trying to use his podcast to get you to hire him. If you want to have an idiot as a coach or a trainer, then go ahead and you should hire him. Let's listen on.
Is that it's pointless arguing about which path to run. I'm not here to tell you that your reality is right or wrong. I'm here to tell you that there is more reality than what you are perceiving right now. What I want to share with you is a reality that I've experienced since I started to change the types of beliefs that I hold in order to gain empowerment.
So again, he is also trying to get him to hire him. He is saying that he has gained beliefs that empowered him. In reality, he has gained beliefs that mess him up, that literally scramble his brain. The more bullshit you believe, the worse your brain is organized. He believes a lot of bullshit we've heard in this podcast. And all the bullshit that I explained here on the stream is actually inside his head. So while I don't believe that perception is projection, I do believe that when people talk, they explain what they believe. They tell you how their brain is organized. And for each time that they violate the meta model, you actually find a structure inside their brain that is suboptimal or even badly organized. And so this NLP, or fake NLP trainer, has actually a pretty much scrambled brain and a suboptimal world model. So even though he thinks that's a good reason to hire him, I doubt it.
Take with it what you can and adopt that. Bring it into your own reality and make it yours if you so choose to.
He's doing this quite well, so selling himself he's quite good at. These are wonderful patterns. He's actually saying, yeah, I learned all these beliefs, and if you they empowered me, and if you want to take them, then go ahead, do what you want. But of course you can't take his belief without hiring him. So this is all wonderful stuff to sell stuff. It is very bad. It's fake NLP. It has nothing to do with NLP. The perception is projection part. The language patterns to sell stuff are absolutely a good use of NLP. But if you're listening to podcast, I doubt it that you're listening in order to be sold something. You are listening because you want to have the idea of perception is projection being clarified. But he is only doing the selling and doing nothing of the clarification part.
And no matter how much information that I share with you, we still are going to have a different reality. And that's fine. It's pointless arguing with someone whether or not they're experiencing something that's real or not. Become more congruent in what you believe is real. And that will then spread out to other people around you.
So this is again very negative suggestions. You should make sure that you keep it out of your system. This is really, really bad. So first of all, he says you can't argue with other people. Now, hopefully you think I've argued with him. I think I have completely demolished his idea of the whole idea, not only his idea, but the whole idea of perception is projection. So I think that we've gotten that part under our belt. But then he says that, I have to repeat, I forgot about it. It's late, I'm running it, but I'll re-listen to it.
Become more congruent in what you believe is real. And that will then spread out to other people around you.
Okay, this is the bad, extremely bad suggestion. So what he is saying is that if you believe something, no matter how stupid, it will spread out to other people. Yes, it will spread out to other people in the sense that other people start to think that you're a complete idiot. If you have bad ideas, if you have stupid ideas and are acting on them. Never, ever, ever, ever think that it's a good idea to just believe something so that you would then somehow make it real. One of the biggest drawback of NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, badly taught, or in this case fake NLP badly taught, is that this idea that if you want something, if you only want it enough, if you really, really strongly believe it, that it will become reality. Because this gives people the idea that they can be arrogant without competence. That if they only believe they can do something, that they can actually do it. And of course, if you in reality cannot do it, no matter how hard you believe you can do it, it will fail. This is a major issue with almost all NLP people, NLP trainers. So here you can actually hear them say the words that are so negative. No, if you want to learn, if you want to do something that you know that you can't do, then you have to give yourself time to learn it. He is just thinking, you don't have to learn anything. You can just believe you can do it, and then you can do it, which is wrong. It's stupid, and it makes NLP people, turns NLP people, or especially NLP trainers, into assholes. And I'll probably think that this fake NLP trainer uses it also to turn himself into an asshole.
They will begin to see your reality. So it's okay to have your own reality. It's okay to have your own experience. Bring these concepts and ideas into your own experience and notice how it shifts how you think about yourself and the world around you. That's what perception is projection is.
Again, he is using Milton model language, the lack of referential index, to say, okay, you will notice the shift. Yeah, shift what specifically? He is just hoping that something will change with you. It's basically as good as a prayer. If you would ask a priest, how do I solve this? He would say, well, you have to pray to God. Okay, if you then ask, would it work? And most priests would say, no, it wouldn't work, but hey, what else can you do? And this is an NLP trainer basically using the same language patterns as a priest. He would say, okay, you have to change something have to shift. And then you ask her what specifically. He said, oh, I don't know. Okay, will it work? No. So he's using these kind of language patterns to put the blame on you. So if it fails, his work, If it's somehow, but it's highly likely to fail, to be clear. But if it fails, it's your responsibility, because then you didn't believe enough, or you didn't believe him completely, or whatever bullshit reason he's going to give you. But that is really, really bad. So an NLP trainer, an NLP coach always need to take responsibility for what happens within the training or within the coaching. If the coaching fails, if the training fails, then the NLP trainer has to say, or the NLP coach has to say, okay, this is my bad, I messed up, I didn't know what to say or to do, what kind of techniques to use to get you over this problem. It is never, ever, ever, ever the responsibility or the blame of the coachee or the trainee.
And thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Please go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review.
Well, here there are more, but these are more of the general endings of podcasts, so I won't hold it against them. But this is done quite nicely. These are all embedded commands. We like embedded commands, so this is good. So thank you for now. This was the reason why perception is not projection. It's a nonsensical, stupid bullshit. It's fake NLP. If you ever hear a person say, an NLP person, an NLP practitioner, an NLP coach, an NLP master practitioner, an NLP trainer, if you ever hear them say perception is projection, please let all alarm bells go off. You now know, oh, I have to deal with a fake NLP trainer, a fake NLP coach. He didn't learn Neuro-Linguistic Programming in the right way. He learned it in the wrong way. He has an outdated, distorted, and bullshit version of NLP that he's trying to teach me or coach me. So run away, run away. These are people are messing up your head. They will do you worse than better. And please, please find an NLP trainer or an NLP coach who says that it is bullshit to think perception is projection. So that was my takedown of perception is projection. I'm not going to ask you to follow me on Twitch, because then I would do the same stuff that he does. But if you're listening carefully, then you can recognize beautiful language patterning when it happens. Bye 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 bye. Till next time.